Hello everybody, welcome back to Sodbuster's Metal Detecting. Today we're going to be going over ground balancing. We are going to be using the Minelab Equinox series. Today I will be using the Minelab Equinox 900, but the ground balancing will be the same whether it be the Minelab Equinox 600, 700, 800, or 900. But whichever one of these detectors that you use, this is going to work the same for you. We are going to be going over basics for those of you who are looking to learn how to ground balance and the different ways to ground balance your metal detector, when to ground balance your metal detector. That will be covered. Also, we're going to go into a little more depth with ground balancing because I have a couple of thoughts that may go against the grain a little bit. Of a couple of beliefs out there, at least one belief of what you should do when you're ground balancing. I'm going to challenge that thought, and I want to know your thoughts to let me know if my way of thinking is off the wall, or if it's correct, or maybe it's both ways are correct. So we're going to take a look at this. We're going to discuss it all. This will be a video for the beginner as well as seasoned detectorists. And I would just like to know your thoughts on my way of thinking. I learned from you guys too. So let's get started with this and see what we can come up with. All right, you guys, it's cold out here. I'm in Idaho. We've been in single digits here the last couple of days. It is cold out here. So hopefully I can get through this video in a fairly reasonable time frame so I can go in and have coffee. Speaking of coffee, if you guys are so inclined, just down below in the description of this video, you'll see where it says click to see more, or it just says more. If you click on that, it'll expand the description of this video and you'll find a link in there that says buy me a coffee. And that would really help keep the channel going. Coffee sure sounds good today, you guys. Anyway, let's get started with this, and I want to show you how to get started with the ground balance here. Okay, I'm going to try to get close here because I want you guys to be able to see this, but I'm going to have a little bit of glare. First thing we're going to do is power on the machine. So I'm going to let that power up here. Boy, that's a cold wind. All right, so now we're powered on. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and perform a noise cancel. So to do that, we're going to use the gear icon. We're going to go to the first option here. It says noise cancel. Go ahead, do that, and then just hit your accept and reject button. All right, so now we've got it noise canceled. When you do that, make sure that your coil is in the air. There is some dispute. Some people say you can do it with the coil on the ground, but it's recommended that you have your coil in the air when you do your noise cancel. So that's what I do. Anyhow, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our gear button here, our settings button, click it one time. Actually, you know what we're going to do first? I'm just going to go here to the detect button, the pinpoint button, and I am going to search a piece of ground out here. Try to find a quiet piece of ground. I don't want any iron noises. I'm going to search. I'm going to hold this pinpoint button. I'm going to have the pinpoint activated and search for a quiet piece of ground. Okay, so that seems pretty quiet right there. I'm going to mark that. Okay, I'm going to mark that so I know where that's at. And then I'm going to, let's go back to the ground balance here. Okay, ground balance mode right there. Now the first option we're going to do is the manual, is going to be the automatic ground balance. In order to do the automatic ground balance, when you are in your ground balance mode, your ground balance option here, we're going to use the accept and reject button as we pump the coil over that clean spot that we found. And so let's do that right now. We're going to hold the accept and reject button down as we perform this. Okay, it's already ground balanced. It ground balanced at 34. Now, one thing I want to mention to you, I'll show you there, it's 34 on the ground balance. That ground balanced out really nice. Now, I want to show you something here. I'm going to just go out of this for a second. I'm going to go back to just hit the pinpoint button. I'm going to check my sensitivity. Right now, my sensitivity is at 15. I did that in the house. I'm going to bump that up a second. I'm going to bump that up to, say, I'll just go to, no, I'm going to go to where it's stable. Okay, so it's stable at about 20. And the reason I did that is because if I was in a hunting situation, this is where I would want my detector set up to where it's stable. It's 20, it's quiet, it's not chattering. So I'm going to rebalance here. I'm going to ground balance again. Go over to my ground balance option. Whoops, I hit the wrong button, you guys. Okay, ground balance option, accept reject button, and pump the coil. Okay, so it balanced at 35, right there, solid 35. So that's good. That's right close to where it was when I had my sensitivity lower. Now, we can do that manually. That's probably your most efficient way of ground balancing. Automatically, I'm sorry. You can also do this manually. In order to ground balance manually, you're going to use your plus and minus buttons as you pump the coil the same way. Be sure you're in the ground balance mode, right there, your ground balance option. And then you're going to use your plus and minus. You're either going to press it one at a time, or you can hold them down to get what you need there to move the numbers faster. The thing is you're listening for when this detector is not louder on the way up or louder on the way down. You want, basically, the detector is going to silence when you get that ground balance. It's going to get quiet. So that's what you're looking for. Let's do that. I'm going to put it out of sync right now. I'm going to run up the numbers here to where it's out of balance, and then we'll ground balance again. So you hear it's louder on the way up. Let me turn up the volume here a little bit. Okay. Let me go back over to ground balance here. All right. You can hear that is louder on the way up. And you guys, you don't have to go way up here like this. When you're ground balancing, really all you need is something like that. Just try to get as close to the ground as you can without bumping the ground. But you really only need about 3 or 4 inch pump right there. And so now we know that it's got that negative ground balance. It's louder on the way up right now. So I'm going to adjust that by lowering. Okay, I went too far. Now I have noise on the way down. So I'm going to come back up. I'm going to use my plus. Okay. Okay, right there at 35, it came back in again. It was the same. You hear that noise. It wasn't completely silent, but it was the same volume on the way up as it was on the way down. And so that would be where your ground balance. At that point, you're just going to hit your pinpoint button so you can start detecting. All right, so that's going to bring into discussion now. That's two ways to ground balance. The first one was automatic, second one was manual. I prefer the automatic. It's easier, probably in most cases more accurate, but it just depends on your situation. When do you want to ground balance? Well, that's a really good question. A lot of times when we go detecting, we're in parks, we're in different yards and stuff like that. And like where I'm at here in Idaho, in the section where I live, the parks and stuff don't have really mineralized ground. Mineralization is the point of your ground balance. What your ground balance does is it's trying to eliminate the noise of the mineralization that's in the ground. So you have iron, you have different mineralizations and stuff that can cause the detector to make noise. And that noise can distract you from hearing a good target. With that being said, the mineralization is all the way through the ground. There's no specific point where it's like 2 inches in the ground and then it stops, or it's a foot deep. There's nothing like that. The mineralization, it varies throughout the ground. You're going to have heavier mineralization in different depths of the ground as well. That's where it brings up this thing, my way of thinking. Whoops, almost dropped this detector. It's slippery out here too. What happens is when you have your sensitivity up at the point where you're going to detect your stable point of where the noise is steady on your detector, okay, you've got it stabilized with your sensitivity. If you ground balance at that point, then you're ground balancing at the depth of what you're going to be detecting. Now, I have heard people say that in order to make your ground balancing easier, that you want to lower your sensitivity, just drop it right down, lower your sensitivity. I have to challenge that. Whew, that's a cold wind. Anyway, I have to challenge that, because when you lower your sensitivity down, what you're doing is you're decreasing your depth as well. So when you do that ground balance, I'm afraid that if you have your sensitivity dropped all the way down, or even down below where you're going to be detecting, you're not balancing out the mineralization noise for the depth you're going to be detecting. I hope that makes sense. I just don't believe that that is effective. In my way of thinking, I want to ground balance the depth, the full depth that I'm going to be detecting in that spot. In this case, my sensitivity is at 20. I want to ground balance at the sensitivity of 20. It may take a little bit to go and find yourself a quiet piece of ground. Hit that pinpoint button, you guys, and search around and so you can hear places where I'm getting targets. If you hear that, you don't want to ground balance over that. You want to find a quiet piece of ground to ground balance over. Search for it. Take a little bit of time and search for it. Here where I'm at, there's not much mineralization where I detect. So I don't worry about I'm sorry, you guys. I don't worry about ground balancing in these parks and sites and stuff so much here. There's times I do, because it will help with noise reduction. And a lot of people are very religious about ground balancing every single place that they hunt, and that's great. You can do that. It's not going to hurt a thing. But what I'm saying is, for a lot of you who may not possibly understand ground balancing, that's something you can learn in the future as you go, as you learn your detector. It's not necessary. You can turn on your detector, have it set at the neutral ground balance, which is 0. On the Equinox series, it's going to be set from the factory at 0 ground balance. You don't have to ground balance unless you are in a highly mineralized area. Maybe you're in Arizona and you've got a lot of mineralization, maybe Nevada, just wherever it may be. There's places in Idaho that have high mineralization too. Those are places where you're probably going to want to ground balance. So just know that that is for highly mineralized ground. If you're getting a lot of ground noise, then you're going to want to do a noise cancel. You're also going to want to do a ground balance. You're going to have to ground balance every so often, because as you move along, the ground changes. From here 10 feet away, my ground may be a lot different 10 feet away. So I may want to reground balance. When you start hearing noise, reground balance, do a noise cancel, reground balance, and that's going to help you. So there's another option, and this is something I'm going to show you right now. Okay, you guys, I just went back into my ground balance here. When you're in ground balance, once you've balanced it, you can come over here to the accept reject, hit that one time, and right up here there's a little icon. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little swiggly icon up there. That is your ground tracking. And so what that does is, as you're metal detecting, it is supposed to track the mineralization in the ground to keep your detector balanced. Some people like to use that. I personally do not use it because I feel that it can actually balance out a good target. That's just my thoughts. I could be completely false on that. But do your own research on that, you guys, and let me know if I'm wrong. I learned from you guys too. So I personally don't use ground tracking. It's not an option that I am confident with, but a lot of people are. So I leave my ground tracking off. Just hit my accept reject button again, get rid of that. And that's how I hunt. So anyway, ground balancing, here we go again. If you drop your sensitivity all the way down and you're only getting depth maybe 2 inches into the ground or something, I don't believe that ground balancing at a lower sensitivity like that, or the lowest sensitivity, is gonna ground balance at the depth you're detecting. There's gonna be people that argue with me on this, and that's okay. Let me know why you think that we need to lower our sensitivity to ground balance. It may make it easier to ground balance because you can get a quick ground balance out of it that way. But then when you turn your sensitivity back up and you're, say, detecting now at 10, 11 inches deep, we haven't ground balanced the minerals at that depth on a low sensitivity. So what is the point of ground balancing? So let me know what your guys' thoughts are, and I'm interested to hearing this. This is how we learn. Okay, you guys, I'm back inside now. Whew. Hopefully you got a coffee on the way. Anyway, so that's going to pretty much conclude the video. I just want to let you guys know, go ahead, when you get out there to where you're going to hunt, choose what program you want to hunt in, whether it's Park 1, Park 2, Field 1, Field 2, whatever it may be. Choose your program, and then do your noise cancel, and then you can perform your ground balance. I hope this helped some of you out there. I hope it helps all of you out. But again, I do want to hear from you guys and let me know, is my way of thinking logical on the sensitivity for your ground balance? Or let me know what you think there. It'll be interesting to find out. So anyway, I am going to go have that cup of coffee. And you guys are awesome. I appreciate you joining me on my videos. I appreciate the subscriptions and the shares and the comments, all that stuff, you guys. It really helps my channel. And in order to keep this channel going and growing, I need your help. So if you could do those things, that would be much appreciated. And we will see you on another Equinox tutorial soon.